Morning. Today, Dr. Ahmed Djoghlaf, the Executive Secretary of the Convention on Biological Diversity, is with us. Dr. Djoghlaf has a very full schedule here in New York, but we were able to arrange to have him brief you on the launch of the logos for next year's International Year of Biodiversity and the Conference of the Parties that will be held in Japan. Dr. Djoghlaf, thank you very much for being able to brief us.
We thank you, Shahbaz, for this opportunity, and we thank all of you for taking time to be with us. I know how busy you are and how crowded the events are, and thank you very much for this opportunity. So I will not take too much of your time, just to tell you that 2010 will be an historical year for biodiversity family as a whole. It will coincide with the International Year on Biodiversity. You have the logo, which has been officially launched, including the logo of COP10, which will take place in Aichi, Nagoya, in Japan, in October 2010. Why it's important? Because we'll have a new vision for 2050, and the new target after the Johannesburg target of 2020. As you know, the leaders, the 101 heads of states in Johannesburg, the 154 heads of state in 2005 in the review summit of the Millennium Development Goals have agreed to substantially reduce the rate of loss of biodiversity by 2010. The European, the 27 heads of state in Gothenburg, Sweden, decided that they should stop the loss of biodiversity by 2010. They met also in Sweden, in Stromstad, as Minister for Europe, and they came to the conclusion that they will not meet the target. We will have the Global Biodiversity Outlook, which is the states of biodiversity in 2010. It will be issued in May 2010, based on national report, and we have received so far 86 national reports. We are missing 107. So we are asking the countries that have not yet submitted their national report on how they have implemented the Johannesburg target to do so as soon as possible, because this state of biodiversity will highlight what the international community has done and or failed to do, and shape the future, what should be done beyond 2010. And 69 days before 2010, it's clear from the 86 report that we have received that not a single country in the world that can claim that to have achieved either the Gothenburg commitment or the Johannesburg commitment. So there will be a new strategic plan of the Convention 2011-2020, which will integrate this vision and the heads of states decision, and also to integrate them into national plan and strategies. So the implementation modality for the Convention is that each party which adhere to the Convention will have to adopt a strategy and an action plan. So all the strategies that have been developed will need to be revised from 2010 to 2012 before Rio Plus 20 to integrate the outcome of the Nagoya summit. Why summit? Because we'll have heads of states. Why summit? We'll have a summit of mayors. So for the first time, we'll have 300 mayors around the world attending the Aichi Nagoya Summit on Biodiversity. A plan of action on cities and biodiversity will be adopted by the mayors and submitted to the ministers. So for the first time, you will have an MEA, a multilateral environmental agreement, entering into partnership between Minister of Environment and local authorities. And as you know, in this more and more urban world and the more warmer planet, the biodiversity will be won or lost in the cities. And all this growth of the cities are taking place in developing countries. The 2/3 of humanity will be living in cities in 2050, and therefore we need to take care of biodiversity. There will be a summit on parliamentarian, a summit of CEOs of companies, a summit of heads of bilateral and multilateral agencies, the JICA of the world, the GTZ, and the World Bank of the world, to integrate into the development cooperation the outcome of Nagoya. But most importantly, this will take place at the occasion of the International Year on Biodiversity. The General Assembly has declared 2010 as the International Year on Biodiversity. It will start in Berlin on the 11th of January, and the Chancellor of Germany has launched the invitation, so it will be chaired by the Chancellor herself. Why Germany? Because they are hosting our Conference of the Parties until Japan. and Japan will host the closing ceremony on 11 and 12 December in another prefecture, Ishikawa Prefecture, Kanazawa City. And it will be a closing ceremony for the International Year, but also the launch of the new International Year of the UN, the forest. And as you know, 80% of the biodiversity of the world is in tropical forest, and 13 million hectares of forest are disappearing. And of course, the General Assembly will have a special event on 28th of September 2010. It will be the first time in the history of the UN since its establishment that all the heads of states that will attend the 65th session of the General Assembly will discuss biodiversity, and this will be 4 weeks before the Nagoya summit. On this occasion, I'm very pleased to announce that we just received today the message of the Secretary General for the International Year on Biodiversity. We are launching the logo, the website, on the 9th of November, next week, because we have a major meeting preparing in Nagoya, where the parties will discuss a new treaty, a new international regime on access and benefit sharing, which will be also adopted in Nagoya, and this will make a major contribution to achieving the Millennium Development Goal, because biodiversity is a major tool for development, a major tool for achieving sustainable development, a major tool to alleviating poverty. 1.6 billion people draw their livelihood from forests, 3 billion from marine and coastal biodiversity, and the loss of biodiversity will compound, of course, and make it impossible, the achievement of the MDGs. And it's for this reason, for example, that the Secretary General in 2006 has decided to integrate this biodiversity target, the Johannesburg target, as part of the MDGs, as a target of Goal 7 of the MDGs. And one suggestion of this heads of state meeting in New York, when they will discuss biodiversity, is a panel on biodiversity for development and biodiversity for poverty alleviation, another panel on climate change and biodiversity. And as you know, climate change is a problem, but biodiversity is part of the solution. The forests, the oceans, the wetlands, the peatlands are a major contributor to the stabilization of the climate and the absorption of CO2, and at the same time they are the victim. The warming of the planet is weakening the capacity of the ocean to absorb carbon. 30% of all the CO2 emitted are absorbed by the oceans. 20% of CO2s are emitted by deforestation. 30 million hectares are disappearing, and we hope, therefore, to be able to promote during Rio Plus 20 the joint work program between CCD, Climate Change Convention, CBD, Biodiversity Convention, and of course climate change, under the forest work program, which is, I think, a major win-win, a win for carbon, a win for land and desertification and degradation, and of course a win for biodiversity. So we call on you. We will have a number of training for journalists, workshops. The first one will start on the 11th of November in Montreal. In Copenhagen, we'll have a training on biodiversity and climate change for all the journalists attending the Copenhagen meeting. But during 2010, thanks to donation by Spain, and please liaise with Shep Haru, who is our spokesman for all COP. So he'll be with us in Nagoya for any meeting that you want to attend for talking about biodiversity and climate change, biodiversity development, and biodiversity as a contributor, as a major contributor to sustainable development, and how you can assist us in celebrating the International Year on Biodiversity. Please look at the website. We have already a website, in the CBD website, www.cbd.ent. Go to the International Year, and you will have all this good information. But on the 9th of November, there will be a dedicated website for the International Year, and I'm very pleased to see the reaction of government. We have so far 33 governments that have provided us with their plan to celebrate the International Year. We have UNEP, we have UNDP, we have IUCN, we have UNCTAD, we have Countdown 2010, we have the GEF, all the sister agencies, FAO, geared towards making their contribution to biodiversity, because as it is the slogan, biodiversity is life, and biodiversity is our life and the life of our children. Thank you very much.